Hello, we're here to talk about Organon today. We have this copy and we have this copy. Some of you might have a more modern version, but I prefer the William Bowricky. I'm a traditionalist, put it that way. Um, in the in the introduction, Hahnemann talks about how homeopathy does not deplete the inner resources of the body. Because up until that time, there had been bleedings. They'd get the idea, the allopaths had the idea that something was in the body that was causing disease, and so they tried to get rid of it. Now that makes sense because, modern medicine shows us that, if there's a uric acid buildup, there's going to be problems. If there's a pathogen buildup, there's going to be problems. But in the olden days, they would do things like, well, let's try to get rid of the germs by taking most of the blood out of the body. That's obviously a bad plan, isn't it? Instead of, well, maybe we have something to support the healing process, which is a good plan. So homeopathy came to be as a very safe and effective form of medicine that did not yet exist. People who knew better would turn to the herb women instead of going to the physician, because the herb women, the traditional herb women, which were often persecuted, they found that they would be able to get well easier, better, faster, more safely, without all the bleedings, the purgings, the vomitings, the things that were inserted into the body in order to keep an open wound, things like that the traditional allopathic doctor of that day did, that were so destructive to the vital force. So Hahnemann lived from 1855 to 1843. And his time period was very, very interesting historically, because it was a time of tremendous personal and governmental development, in the European arena. The Christian church lost a lot of its power, and a lot of new thinkers came to the forefront. There was Linnaeus with his classification of plants, which was phenomenal. Bonninghausen took a lot of that and kind of turned it to repertory. And Goethe, Darwin, Hahnemann, Kant, Mozart, Transcendentalism, the American Revolution, Napoleon and the French Revolution and the end of the monarchy in France. The list of changes is tremendous. There was scientific development, social development. The less people were, well, I don't know, philosophy, science. There was a lot of change during the 18th century, and it was called the Enlightenment or the Age of Reason. So things changed a lot in Europe. They really did. And, the American Revolution then happened. And it was really a very interesting time in history. So, Hahnemann developed everything. He was German. That means a lot, actually. German people are known to be very, very exacting, very, very careful and meticulous. This is a trait of the German people. And so when he thought about doing drug provings in healthy people, this carefulness went into everything that he did, which was monumental and world changing, even though a lot of people today don't see homeopathy has its imprint in allopathic medicine or other fields, but you can see just a little fragment of it. So we will be doing step by step from the 6th edition Bo-Rickie translations. And maybe, just maybe, we'll sidestep a little bit into the chronic diseases. And the chronic diseases follows the Organon. It is very, very, very important to also read the chronic diseases, because Hahnemann takes his ideas and he goes one step further in the chronic diseases, because he saw that what he'd written in the Organon was true and worked wonders for acute disease, but it wasn't quite doing enough to touch the chronic. So he went back to the drawing board and wrote the chronic diseases for our benefit as well, which I can't tell you is extremely important. It really, really is. There's a lot of differences in dosing between the 5th edition of Organon, the 4th edition of Organon, the 6th edition of Organon, and the chronic diseases. So it's all very, very meaningful, and there's a lot to be unpacked. Have a great day.